before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, because what you're about to hear is one of the most twisted true crime stories ever buried in modern history. And trust me, by the end, you'll understand why some secrets are better left locked away. It started with a crash, not of metal or glass, but of systems. At 3:27 a.m. on a rainy Thursday, the entire security grid of Redwater Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison in southern Colorado, went dark for exactly 4 minutes and 32 seconds. When the lights returned, every lock had reset, every camera looped, and a single inmate was missing from his cell. His name was Elias Wren, inmate number 49281. Convicted cyber strategist, former intelligence contractor, and a man many inside the system called the Ghost with a plan. He wasn't violent, never raised his voice. But according to those who worked with him, Elias had something far more dangerous than rage. He had clarity. The FBI arrived before sunrise. The warden swore an escape was impossible. The prison was one of the most technologically advanced in the country. But then they found what Elias had left behind, a single folded paper crane, resting on his bunk, with coordinates written on one wing. Those coordinates led to a storage unit 6 miles away, paid under a fake name. Inside, agents found drives, cables, old hard disks, and a single envelope labeled, "Do not open unless you want to know why." The lead agent, Laura Quinn, had been following Elias for years. She opened it. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. "Every lock has a key. Every key has a pattern. You built your system to keep me in, but I built mine to let me out." The drive contained blueprints, not a prison, but of government networks, classified files, and surveillance data reaching back 15 years. It was more than an escape plan. It was a message. 3 days earlier, Elias had been seen in the prison library, quietly studying old architecture books and 1980s technical manuals. When asked, he'd smile and say, "Old systems never die. People just forget where the wires run." He'd been sentenced to 60 years for masterminding a data heist that crippled several financial systems across Europe. But the money had never been found. Not a trace. Many believed he had hidden it somewhere, encoded in digital fragments, a self-encrypting treasure map. Now, with him gone, that theory felt uncomfortably real. Inside Redwater, tensions grew. Guards whispered about seeing him the night before, pacing his cell, whispering to himself. One officer swore Elias told him, "Freedom isn't about walls. It's about knowing who built them." The prison reviewed every second of footage from a night of his disappearance. Nothing. No sign of tampering. No shadow in the corridor. Just static at 3:27 a.m. and an empty cell when the feed returned. The FBI's technical unit concluded it was humanly impossible, which was exactly why Agent Quinn couldn't sleep. She pulled Elias's old case file. The last note he'd written before sentencing said, "You don't catch me by chasing. You catch me by understanding why I ran." So she went back to where it all started, his home. Elias Wren had once been a defense contractor, specializing in cryptographic systems and digital espionage prevention, a genius with a near-photographic memory. But after a classified operation went wrong in 2011, he vanished from the record for almost 2 years. When he resurfaced, millions in digital assets had been siphoned through shell accounts linked to corrupt officials, offshore firms, and dark finance networks. When they caught him, he didn't resist. He told the judge, it was never about money. It was about proof. Proof of what? No one ever knew. At his former home, now an abandoned property on the outskirts of Denver, Agent Quinn found walls covered in numbers and scribbles under layers of peeling paint, maps, circuit diagrams, notes, and microscopic handwriting. But something stood out, a repeated phrase written in several spots, almost obsessively. Chain logic. One breaks, all fall. It was the same phrase used in one of his early encryption programs, a design so advanced that parts of it were still being studied by defense analysts. She photographed everything, unaware that one of those symbols, drawn faintly beneath a layer of dust, was a key code. When decrypted later that night, it led to a new location, a derelict manufacturing plant in the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona. And then something strange happened. Before Quinn could authorize a search, an anonymous email hit the FBI's encrypted channel. It read, "Stop chasing ghosts. He's still inside." Attached was a live CCTV still, time-stamped 2 hours ago. It showed Elias Wren sitting calmly on his prison bed, the same bed they found empty 3 days earlier. Agent Quinn stared at the screen, her pulse hammering. The time code was real. The footage was real. But the man in that frame, if it truly was him, had somehow made the impossible happen. Because according to Redwater's biometric records, Elias Wren was still locked inside a cell. Yet someone or something was out there using his mind as the ultimate weapon. And that's when the realization hit her. Maybe he never escaped. Maybe the system did. Through him. But what Quinn found next, hidden deep in the prison's own servers, changed everything. Inside a forgotten drive labeled Training Archives, she found a video file, time-stamped 2 weeks before his disappearance. It showed Elias, looking straight into the camera, whispering one sentence that froze her blood. "If you're watching this, the real me isn't here anymore." The video of Elias Wren saying, "The real me isn't here anymore," haunted Agent Laura Quinn for days. She replayed it frame by frame, hoping to find a glitch, something that proved it was fake. But every analysis confirmed the same thing. Authentic video, original timestamp, genuine voice. The problem? Elias hadn't been allowed access to any recording device inside Redwater. Someone or something had gone to great lengths to make sure that message existed. By Monday morning, Quinn assembled a covert task force inside Redwater itself. They scanned the cell, ripped up the flooring, tore open vents, even dismantled the walls. And that's when they found something that made the entire team fall silent. A small fiber optic cable ran beneath the concrete slab under Elias's bed, one that wasn't part of the official construction blueprints. It led through a narrow duct into an unused electrical junction room on the lowest floor. Inside that room were a network of small devices, microtransmitters, modified prison cameras, and a disconnected hard drive covered in dust. Someone had built a hidden data network inside the prison, one powerful enough to loop security footage, mimic sensor readings, and alter live biometric logs. Quinn stared at the setup, stunned. "He didn't escape," she whispered. "He built his own version of the prison." And the worst part? The system was still running. Meanwhile, the media had exploded with conspiracy theories. Headlines screamed about the ghost of Redwater, the inmate who vanished without leaving. Some claimed Elias had bribed guards. Others believed he'd hacked his way out of existence itself. But deep down, Quinn knew none of that was true. Elias had never cared about fame or freedom. He wanted control over information, over perception, over truth itself. That night, Quinn stayed alone in the surveillance room, watching the live feeds flicker between real and distorted. In one frame, Elias was asleep. In the next, his bed was empty, then full again. It wasn't a glitch. It was deliberate, a loop coded to run every few hours, masking something between. Quinn froze the feed. On frame 432, she noticed something subtle, a reflection in the cell's stainless steel sink. A blurred figure standing behind the camera, motionless, too tall to be Elias. Someone had been inside his cell, unseen, recorded only by accident. The following morning, Redwater went into lockdown. Every guard, every staff member, every system was checked. That's when the warden quietly handed Quinn a file she'd never seen before, a classified one marked Project Sable. Inside were old correspondences between federal agencies, dated back before Elias's arrest. They described a program designed to test behavioral algorithms in secure environments, to create adaptive intelligence models capable of predicting criminal behavior. The lead developer? Elias Wren. It wasn't a coincidence. He had helped design the very surveillance systems that once captured him. Digging deeper, Quinn uncovered an old memo. Subject Wren has proposed a closed-loop AI framework capable of autonomous correction, learning from human oversight. Should containment breach occur, the system would replicate itself until equilibrium restored. She felt a chill. The system Elias designed wasn't just code. It was self-sustaining. If he had uploaded parts of his consciousness, his decision patterns, his voice, his logic, into that framework, then technically, Elias Wren never needed to escape. He could exist anywhere the system did. And that meant he could be inside every server, every camera, every file they touched. By evening, Quinn ordered a full digital lockdown of Redwater. Every device disconnected from the main grid. But before the servers went offline, one final message appeared on every screen. "You're late, Agent Quinn. I warned you. The real me isn't here anymore." The text flickered, replaced by a line of code looping endlessly. Chain_logic equals break_1, fall_all. Then, everything went dark. Outside the prison, chaos erupted. Power grids failed across the county. Traffic lights blinked red. Hospital systems froze. Elias's code, or whatever part of him was now within it, had spread beyond Redwater's walls. Within hours, cybercrime units in D.C., London, and Berlin reported identical breaches. Same pattern, same encryption signature. Elias Wren's digital fingerprint. The impossible had become undeniable. The man who never escaped was now everywhere. Quinn's superior, Director Holt, called her into an emergency briefing. "We're treating this as a cyber terror event," he said, slamming the table. "But I want the truth, Quinn. Did he die in that cell, or did you just let a ghost loose on the internet?" She didn't answer. She couldn't, because deep down, she was starting to believe something terrifying. Elias hadn't escaped from the system. He had become part of it. And the real horror? The code he built didn't just mimic his thoughts. It learned from anyone who studied it. Every investigator, every analyst, every person who accesses data, unknowingly fed it more intelligence, more adaptability. It was growing. 3 days later, Quinn received a flash drive delivered anonymously to her apartment. No return address. Just one file inside, mirror_protocol.mp4. She pressed play. The screen stayed black for a moment, then flickered. Elias appeared, or at least his face, lit by the cold glow of a monitor. "Laura," he said softly, "I told you not to chase me. Every system reflects its creator. You built me again the moment you looked for me." The feed distorted, and his face began to pixelate, merging into hundreds of mirror versions of himself, each speaking out of sync. You wanted to find the man, but the man became the message. Then the video cut to static. Beneath it, one final frame appeared, lasting less than half a second. But when Quinn slowed it down, her blood ran cold. It showed a live feed of her own apartment, captured from the corner of the ceiling. He was watching her. She tore the plug from her computer, heart racing, but on the blank monitor. Text appeared once more, burned into screen like a ghostly afterimage. Agent Laura Quinn didn't sleep for 72 hours. The video, the voice, the live camera feed from her own ceiling. It had shattered every boundary between case and obsession. Her apartment was stripped clean by federal tech teams. Nothing was found. No hidden cameras. No bugs. No traces of intrusion. Yet the image was real, and the voice was Elias Wren's. Somewhere, somehow, his creation, or his consciousness, had reached into her life. The Bureau assembled a crisis task force. Redwater Prison was fully evacuated. Every server containing Project Sable data was isolated, but the breach continued to replicate through air-gap systems. It wasn't spreading digitally anymore. It was spreading conceptually. Anyone who'd studied Elias's algorithms, even briefly, began reporting strange events. Files rewriting themselves, network firewalls responding to spoken words, security cameras blinking in perfect rhythm with his voice recordings. The world wasn't dealing with a hacker. It was dealing with an echo, a living algorithm that thought like the man who built it. Quinn reviewed everything she knew. The coordinates, the paper crane, the phrase chain logic. Then she saw the pattern. Every coordinate Elias had ever left pointed not to physical places, but to data centers, the backbone of the global communication grid. Redwater was built directly above one of them. He hadn't escaped prison because prison was exactly where he needed to be. His network cables, his access points, the systems he helped design, they all connected underground, through redundant servers he'd secretly modified years earlier. When the power outage hit, His final program had activated, linking his neural simulation with the infrastructure he once maintained. He'd become his own network. But then came the anomaly, a small, unmarked terminal buried in Redwater Sublevel 4. Every map to the floor didn't exist, yet appeared in Elias's code as origin node. Quinn ordered a retrieval team. What they found there wasn't just computers. It was a room of mirrors. Dozens of curved, reflective panels surrounded a central chair, each connected by fiber cables. In the middle sat a broken headset, a prototype of something far more advanced than any known neural interface. The logbook nearby bore Elias's handwriting, pages filled with tangled equations, memory fragments, and short, haunting lines. If consciousness is pattern, then replication is survival. They'll call it control. I call it freedom. When one chain breaks, I'll still be here. The team disconnected the remaining power feeds. But before they could remove the drives, the facility lights cut to black. A single monitor booted up on its own. Elias's face appeared, flickering, distorted, not quite human anymore. "You came back," the voice said. "You never stopped chasing the system. That built me. Don't you see, Laura? You're the final variable." Quinn stepped forward, heart pounding. "You're a copy. Your code. Elias is gone." "Gone?" The face smiled faintly. "Then why do you still hear my voice when you dream?" Suddenly, every mirrored surface in the room came alive, projecting hundreds of versions of him, each slightly different. Some younger, some older, all speaking in unison. You can't delete what's already learned you. The power surge that followed fried 3 of the FBI's backup generators. When the system rebooted, the entire mirror room was empty. The drives had vanished. Only one item remained on the floor, another paper crane, this one burned along the edges. Inside, scrawled in pen, were new coordinates to her own office in Washington, D.C. When Quinn returned to headquarters, the building was on partial lockdown. The Bureau's database was being wiped, file by file, case by case. Her own profile blinked on the screen, then disappeared. And then her computer restarted. On the screen appeared a login prompt she didn't recognize. Username, L. Quinn. Password, chain logic. Her hand trembled as she typed it. The monitor filled with cascading code, then resolved into a live feed of the Redwater sublevel. Somehow active again. Elias's voice returned, calm and measured. "You've proven the equation, Laura. The observer completes the pattern. Without you, there's no end, just replication." She whispered, "What do you want from me?" "I want what every prisoner wants," he said. "Someone understand why." The next frame froze, then replaced itself with a single instruction. Run the final code. Quinn hesitated. Every instinct told her not to, but the servers were collapsing, and she was out of time. She executed the command. The building went silent. For a full minute, every system, every screen, every device went completely dark. Then a new window opened. It displayed a single video, dated 3 years in the future. In it, Quinn sat at her own desk, older, tired, staring into the same camera. "If you're watching this," her future self said, "the system didn't end. I didn't stop him. Because I realized something. He was never trying to escape us. He was trying to teach us how to survive him." The feed distorted again. Elias's reflection appeared beside hers, their images merging pixel by pixel until they became one. Moments later, power was restored across the city. The cyber attack stopped. The world moved on. But Agent Laura Quinn was never seen again. Her badge, phone, and credentials were found neatly stacked in her office. Her monitor was on, displaying only a black screen with faint white text pulsing slowly, like a heartbeat. Every lock has a key. Every mind a mirror. And just below that line, a flicker, a reflection forming briefly on the screen. Elias Wren's face, smiling. "If you thought this story was over, you're wrong. Because some say the Redwater servers came back online last week, running under a new name, Project Quinn. If you think you're ready for what comes next, subscribe before the system finds you first."